Hello there. Welcome to SBJ Executive Insight. I'm Eileen Silverglide, and my guest today is Amy Rouse from Paragon Marketing. And we are bringing this Executive Insight to you from the Brand Innovation Summit in Chicago, presented by our awesome partner, Paragon. So Amy, I'm thrilled to have this conversation with you. For those of you who have not been able to be at Brand Innovation Summit in the past day and a half, the conversation has been a lot about women's sports. But today, I actually want to talk about youth sports, because I know that is your area of expertise. So before we get into the data and the facts and the figures, let's talk about being a mom. And what is that like? So how many kids do you have, and are they involved in youth sports?
Yes and yes. I have two boys. George, who is 16, he'll be a junior in high school in the fall. And then I have Tommy, who is going to be in 7th grade, and he's 12. And they are heavily involved in youth sports. So,
what sports?
George plays football. He's the quarterback for the football team, and basketball. Okay. And Tommy is in football, basketball, and baseball.
Got it. Yeah. And so it must be fascinating for you to be on the field, watching the boys as a mom, and then thinking with your business hat, what is this like? So tell me about how it feels to be on the field watching the kids.
I would say diving back and forth between being a professional and, in marketing and then being a mom, I'm always putting both hats on. Yeah. I think it's super interesting watching my kids and how they engage and play, but also the organizations and how they work. I think I really take a lot of insights and thoughts from that and bring it back to work a lot, because you're living and breathing the events as a mom and as they're engaging and having all the things that they go through sports.
So obviously coming out of the pandemic, we all read a lot of the data about how devastating it was on the mental health of the youth, and still I think continues on very much. What do you see now? So now that sports have come back, how have you been able to sort of assess the impact mental health-wise of the youth who are now participating?
I think you're seeing it come out a little bit in sports. I think, yeah, so I would say high school probably more than anything, because those kids that are in high school right now were in that formative years as tweens when the pandemic was happening. And I think we'll see it for years to come as far as the mental health, how it affected our kids. I think we lost some kids in youth sports. Youth sports are coming out stronger than ever. The numbers are coming out of the pandemic, but we lost some kids. And I always say that hurts my heart, because we don't know who we lost, and we don't know how, are we going to get them back type of thing. And youth sports is so important for kids and their mental health. And it's sad. It's really sad.
So, looking at other trends coming out of the pandemic, do you see anything around girls and boys engagement in youth sports? How have those levels returned?
I think they're both about even as far as coming back. I think, I'm lucky that we have clients that put a huge focus on female sports. Yeah. I think people that are getting involved are saying, how can we keep it going? How can we give them access as well? How can we support it? I know we've talked about a lot of the emphasis yesterday was on women's sports and giving, treating them just as we do with male sports. And so I think you see that in youth as well, as far as how we can bring them along.
And so working with clients, what are some of the data points and pieces of information that they're asking about youth sports from you?
It depends on, I would say, their different goals and objectives, right? So we may have clients that come to us and say, this market is a priority, right? So we're going to go in and look and say, okay, hey, Dallas, Chicago, Los Angeles, right? We want to be there and we want to show up for the youth athletes. So we will go and pull that data from where they can go and access them. We may have clients and come and say, these sports are priorities. So it's really, youth sports is super fragmented, right? Like It is not like professional, collegiate, that you have those umbrellas. And so that's where I think Paragon really shines, is we can go and find those data points that brands need, because it's so fragmented, and we have relationships all across the country, all across sports and organizations.
Yeah, so what is the landscape of youth sports? So it's fragmented, but is it fragmented by region? Is it fragmented by sport? What do you see in terms of how it actually sorts itself out?
It's fragmented in every way. So
Is that right?
So
Okay.
if you think about football, right?
Yeah.
So you have youth football, right?
Yeah.
Then you get to high school and you have your state associations in those high schools, but then you also have your like travel type team organizations and stuff. So it is every sport. Baseball, you have Little League, you have travel baseball, you have high school baseball, you have school ball from middle school and that type of thing. So it's super fragmented, and there isn't one sport that I would say is not fragmented, because it's just different touch points that you have.
Yeah, that's incredibly helpful to understand.
It's messy.
But it's really, it's
messy.
super messy.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that folks should really, take away from this conversation, is that it's messy. And do you see it over time starting to come together? So what do you think the future holds?
I think in the future, it'll continue to be fragmented, because it's on season, off season, right? So you think about your school season and you have that infrastructure, right? You have your off season where you have your travel baseball and you have your travel volleyball and basketball and your AAUs and that type of thing. So I think it's always going to be fragmented. I think it's going to, how can they work together? Because at the end of the day, it's that youth, how to make them better, how to keep, them growing and that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. And then from the brand side, the investment in youth sports is attractive, obviously, in terms of the audience match. I get that part of it. Do you see brands also starting to, carry their support from the youth into the collegiate sports? Like, what is that transition like, going from high school to college? And do you see that brands sort of stick with the audience?
They do. Yeah, I think it's that's that journey of that athlete, right? Yeah. So you talk about youth athlete, but you have your tweens, right? So you have your 9 to 12-year-olds, and that's super formative. And then you have your 13 to 17 in high school, right? And so I think brands are wanting to continue to be with those athletes through their journey. Mm-hmm. And I think when you get to the collegiate level, it's different. Not everyone is going to go on to be that collegiate, D1 type athlete, but there's club sports, there's rec sports. So they're feeding that hunger to still be an athlete. And so brands are trying to figure out how to show up for them in those aspects too, right? As they continue that journey from that 9-year-old Little League baseball player to continue to do rec ball as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting to me. Yeah, that's a cool storyline. And I admit, Amy, I hadn't really thought about youth sports just like how you said it there, which is that there's tween and there's high school, and they're totally different buyers. I mean, just being a mom of, a 17 and a 20-year-old, like what they were into in that age is just so different from obviously what they are from high school and college. So that is intriguing. As you sit here today and you look at the landscape of youth sports, what makes you optimistic?
I will say I'm very optimistic about youth sports, because this world, and I'm very passionate about it, what I do personally as a mom, my volunteering, and my professional life, but I'm optimistic because we need sports. It gives kids so many foundational things, whether it's discipline, hard work, teamwork, highs and lows, and learning sometimes things just don't work out in your favor, right? Like the game went one way or what, so I think I'm optimistic because we need youth sports. It's so vital to kids and their mental health, physical health, that I think it's going to continue to grow and just get better because this world needs to be better. So, and I think it's going to start with youth sports and brands, moms, professionals, all kind of digging in and saying, like, let's make it better, because the kids are the future. They're going to be the ones running the world, and we need to give them those tools to how to navigate life. Yeah.
So to that point, if you were going to give a message to the industry and to parents and caregivers and all the people who support children, where should they be concerned? Like, what are some things to watch out for and to think about that people need to say, gosh, I need to do more and lean in?
Right. I would say put yourself in everybody else's shoes sometimes. When you're if you're a brand and you're, looking at supporting a certain sport or organization, see where they need help. A lot of times we have conversations around our kitchen table of, we don't know what so-and-so's going through, right, on the other side. And we don't know what's going on in their house and whatever things that they have to take care of. And so I think that would be, for me, is just to think about that aspect, right? And think about how we can help each other out, because when you come to that field, you've got a whole nother world on the other side, right? And we don't know what's going on, so we need to make sure that we're taking care of each other. Yeah.
Well, you heard it here, folks. At SBJ Executive Insight, we want you to learn something. So we talked about how to handle the dinner table conversation and to be empathetic. I learned a lot about fragmentation of the market and how brands should think about youth sports. So Amy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a terrific conversation, and thank you for listening.